सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भाम् शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। Verse number 22 describes the state of a man of realization. What is being described? Yesterday we missed to see the literal meaning. So here it is said, Rathya Charpata Virachita Kanthaha. Kanthaha means shawl. So this man of realization, he is wearing a shawl. And what kind of shawl? Rathya Charpata Virachita. Virachita means made of what? Charpata, pieces of cloth from Rathya, from the roadside. So he has picked up all pieces of cloth from the roadside, meaning unwanted, torn, worn out pieces, and he has stitched it and he has made a shawl for himself. Now he is wearing that shawl. Meaning what? He takes minimum from the society. Minimum dependence on the society. Give maximum, take minimum. Punya punya vivarjita pantaha. And he is treading the path which is free from punya and apunya. Punya and papa. He is free from all kinds of punya and papa. Why he is free from all punya and papa? He is free because now there is no more ego. Punya and papa can affect you as long as you have the ego. Now this man of realization has become totally egoless. So a person who is egoless is almost equal to dead. Dead means what is dead? Ahankara is dead. So a person who has no ahankara cannot be affected by punya or papa. Doership has to be there, then only enjoyership will come. The one who does karma alone will enjoy karma phala. The one who does action alone has to enjoy the fruits of the action. Now this person has no ego, so naturally that karta bhava, I am the doer attitude is not there. So therefore naturally there is no karma phala unto him. He has offered everything to Lord. Bhagwan, all these actions belong to you. I am only an instrument. So then the results will belong to whom? Since actions belong to the Lord, results also must go to Lord alone. But if I say I have done it, then naturally the results also have to come back to myself. So he is free from punya and papa, meaning total egolessness. A person who reaches that ultimate state where the mind is totally dissolved, the ego or the ahankara is the product of the mind. Now this person has gone beyond the mind. He has seen the ultimate truth which is beyond the mind. So naturally there is no ego. Yogi yoga niyojita chittaha. How did he attain that state? He attained it by continuously keeping his mind upon the supreme truth. Yoga niyojita chittaha. He has become a yogi after engaging his mind upon that supreme truth, which is one's own consciousness. Thus, he becomes, his behavior is like Bala Unmattavat Eva, that which we had seen yesterday. His behavior is like a child. He becomes a childlike, or sometimes like a madman, or sometimes like a ghost, Pishachavat. Yesterday we had seen. So, we were discussing verse number 23. So, as I had told yesterday, in spirituality, the instructions are given in certain stages and steps. Just like a mother gives food to the child. A newborn baby is not given solid food. Only mother's milk is given. As the child grows, as the bodily demand grows, more and more gross food is given. In the same way, since spiritual teaching also, there are different stages. What is the first stage? In the first stage, you don't need any teaching. That is, the experience of a common man, and his experience is, world alone is real, God is unreal. This is the first stage in which everyone has to start. What is real? World is real, God is unreal. Why does he say world is real? Because that is which is seen. You can see it, you can hear it, all the senses can perceive the world. So naturally, without any teaching, you can say world is real. God is unreal because you don't see God. You don't perceive God. Senses cannot grasp it. Mind cannot grasp it. So naturally a person tends to believe that there is no God. Then what is the next stage? Next stage is when he starts getting spiritual instructions. So the next stage, this person says, world is also there, God is also there. Because the spiritual teachers are saying it, he has got a faith. So he has started walking the path. So what does he say? World is also there, God is also there. Then the next stage he says, world is there, but it is dependent on God. World enjoys only a dependent existence, not absolute existence. This is the third stage. What does it mean? Like for example, suppose this table. In this table, I can say, the table enjoys only a dependent existence. Then what enjoys the independent existence? The wood, isn't it? Limited example. The wood enjoys independent existence. Table enjoys only a dependent existence. Meaning what? The table is dependent on wood for its existence. Remove the wood, there is no table. Remove the gold, there are no ornaments. So ornaments enjoy only a dependent existence. Gold enjoys independent existence. In the same way, the world enjoys only a dependent existence. God is independently existent. This is the third stage. And the final stage is, the world never existed. There is only God. Actually, table never existed. What existing is only wood, isn't it? Table is nothing but a name and a form. That's all. What existing always is wood alone. In the same way, just like a waker after going through the dream says, there was never the dream world. Even to say that it is existing, it has got a dependent existence, that also is wrong. Because it never existed. It was just a projection of the mind. So this is the ultimate state of spirituality, where one says world is nothing but an illusion. What is the truth? You, the pure self or pure consciousness alone is the truth. So now the teacher is taking the disciple to this level. And here there is lot of friction now. The highest teaching means lot of friction. So till now there was never a friction, because Guru had come down to the level of the disciple, and for the time being Guru as though accepted the standpoint of the disciple. Disciple, according to the disciple, world is real. Guru says fine, world is real. For the time being he accepted it. And then he started pinpointing the defects of the world as though the world is real. Now, here comes the second level or the highest level of teaching, where the world, Guru says, it never even existed. Why unnecessarily pinpoint the defects? In order to pinpoint the defects, first you have to give it a reality. Guru says it is just swapna vicharam. Vishwam tyaktva swapna vicharam. This world is nothing but an illusion, just like the dream world. There is no difference. So yesterday we had seen which seeker experienced this world as a dream. So what is the condition? What is the necessary qualification to experience that supreme truth and to experience that world is an illusion? You have to go beyond the mind. And how can you go beyond the mind? There are necessary steps. So yesterday I was talking about this pole vault, isn't it? So this person runs, gains the momentum, passes on the momentum to the stick. Therefore the stick starts going up because the other end is stuck. So the momentum is passed on to the other end, so it starts going up. In the process, this person starts climbing the pole, and once the pole reaches the, becomes perpendicular, this person leaves the pole and jumps the other side. Spirituality is also same. So what the seeker has to do is, he is holding the pole. Now what is this pole? It is nothing but the mind. Without the pole, can you go beyond the, horizontal bar? No. Pole is essential. You have to hold the pole also, and at the right time you have to leave the pole also. The timing is very important. Suppose I leave the pole in the beginning itself. It's of no use, isn't it? So in the same way, it is with the mind that you reach the highest, but it is only when you leave the mind, you merge with the highest. So what does this climbing the pole means? Climbing the pole means purifying your mind from tamas to rajas, from rajas to sattva, and ultimately when the mind becomes totally sattvic, such a sattvic mind can be quietened absolutely, and the process of quietening a sattvic mind is witnessing. So at the seat of meditation, you just witness the mind. Manasam tu kim margane krite naiva manasam marga arjavat. Ramana Maharshi said this is the straight path. What is the straight path? Just observe and inquire. What is this mind? Meaning, witness the mind, and then you will find mind never existed. The moment you start witnessing the mind disappears. Remember, this will not happen for a person who has not prepared the mind. In the first place, he can never witness itself. The mind will drag him. In order to witness the mind, you must have tremendous amount of strength, tremendous amount of abidance in the self, in consciousness. So your attention has to be totally into consciousness, not in the content of the mind. Mind is nothing but flow of thought. So if you have to watch the thought, you have to remain in the consciousness. You have to remain as an observer. This is not possible if the mind is not purified. What happens? You get dragged away by the mind. You yourself forget that you are sitting for meditation. You start wandering along with the mind. You yourself will not know. It is only when the mind is purified thoroughly, only when the mind becomes sattvic, this meditation can be done. And this is what is meant by leaving the pole and going beyond. Once the mind stops, the world ends. Because the world is experienced by the mind. You will find that whenever you go to sleep, you will cease to experience the world. Why? Because in deep sleep, the mind is not there. You will find that only when the mind is there, you will experience the world. So the moment the mind goes away, vanishes, the world also vanishes. Then what remains then is what we call as the ultimate reality, or God, or Supreme Self, whatever name you call. But remember, in all religion, whatever the religion that person is practicing, ultimate truth is the same. Because all your practice of religion is with respect to mind only. Isn't it? Whatever training you give, it is all at the mind level. This ultimate reality has nothing to do with the mind. So therefore, it is beyond all religion. All your religion comes under mind only. Everything is in the form of thought. Jesus Christ is in the form of thought. Krishna is in the form of thought. Rama is in the form of thought. Everything is a thought. Thought means what? Mind. So ultimate reality has nothing to do with any of the religion. So you cannot say Krishna alone is ultimate reality. Rama alone is ultimate. No. It is a state of thoughtlessness. So naturally, therefore, there is no form, there is no attribute. It is pure consciousness. Now this reality is what the teacher is trying to explain. Naturally, the disciple is little disturbed. Why is he disturbed? Because now there appears to be an apparent contradiction in his statement. The disciple is seeing the world, Guru is saying this world doesn't exist. The disciple does not see God, Guru says God alone exists. So naturally, the faith of the student is tested. If he has the faith in the teacher, naturally what will he say? If the teacher has said it, if the Guru has said it, it has to be right. Even though my experience say otherwise. My Guru has never cheated me. His own life is a model example for everyone to follow. He is a role model. He has never told any lies. His personality is such that he can never cheat me. He can never misguide me. So if he is saying that the world is unreal, it has to be unreal. Now this is called faith. Such a disciple, there is no problem. But if the faith is lacking in the teacher, naturally the disciple will get agitated, disturbed, angry, whatever. So now such an immature seeker Bhagavan is addressing. What does he say? Let us see verse number 24. Tvaimai chanyatraiko vishnuhu vyartham kupyasi maya sahishnuhu bhava samachittas sarvatratvam Vanchasya chiradyadi vishnutvam Bhaja Govindam Bhaja Govindam Govindam Bhaja Govindam. So now the teacher says, Vyartham kupyasi mai asahishnuhu. Oh dear, you are unnecessarily getting angry with me. Just because I say the world is an illusion, the individuals don't exist. It is only God who exists. God is none other than the real self in you. Don't get angry. This is a fact. Whether you accept it or not, whether you like it or not, the fact is God alone exists. And that God is you yourself. Tvai mai cha anyatraikaha Vishnuhu. Ekaha Vishnuhu. Tvai mai, in you, in me, cha anyatra, in others also, ekaha Vishnuhu. There is only one God. So therefore, don't get disturbed. Don't get angry. It is all because of your impatience, intolerance. So therefore, what you are supposed to do? Bhava samachittaha. If you want to experience that truth, there is only one way. What is the way? Bhava samachittaha. Make your mind quiet and you yourself will experience that truth. Quieten the mind, sarvatra, always. Train your mind to remain peaceful, quiet. Vanchasi yadi achirad vishnutvam. If you want that experience of the truth to take place in you very soon, without delay, then this is the only way. What is the way? Go beyond your mind by quietening the mind. There is no point arguing. It is not the matter of argument. It is a matter of direct experience. So now, certain advices are given by Bhagavan. Bhagavan says, my dear disciple, now the choice is yours. I have given you the teaching. Either you can follow the teaching and live a happy life, or you can ignore the teaching and suffer in the world. You can create a hell out of yourself or a heaven by this teaching. The choice is yours. Let us chant 25th and 26th. Shatrau mitre putre पुत्रे बन्धौ मा कुरु यत्नं विग्रहसन्धौ सर्वस्मिन्नपि पश्यात्मानं सर्वत्रोत्सृज भेदाज्ञानं कामं क्रोधं लोभं मोहं त्यक्त्वात्मानं पश्यति सोऽहम् आत्मज्ञानविहीना मूढाः ते पच्यन्ते नरकनिगूढाः भज गोविन्दं गोविन्दं भज मूढमते. So therefore give the highest priority to this knowledge alone. There is a great possibility. Make all out effort to reach this state. Don't waste your time in unnecessary things. What are the unnecessary things? Shatrau mitre putre bandhau ma kuru yatnam vigraha sandho. Don't try to make and break relationship with your enemy, with your friend, with your son, with your relatives. Don't pay too much of attention to breaking or making relationships. Then what are you supposed to do? Sarvasminnapi pashya atmanam. May your attention be upon the content, upon the essence of each individual. What is the essence? The ultimate reality, which is Atma, which is pure consciousness. And thus, sarvatra utsraja, give up. Bheda ajnanam, ignorance, the difference born of ignorance. Give up. Only the ignorant person say that we are all different. What is the vision of the wise? The wise people have the vision of oneness. There is only one. Expressing through different body, mind, intellect, equipment. So this vision of oneness one has to cultivate. That is what Bhagavan is telling. If you cultivate vision of oneness, there is only love. Isn't it? Suppose I understand that I am consciousness with a body. So what will I see in others? They are also consciousness with that body. Isn't it? So she is consciousness with that body. He is consciousness with that body. So bodies become secondary. What is primary? Consciousness. So naturally when I see others as myself, as consciousness, the automatic emotion which arises will be love. Wherever there is a vision of oneness, there automatically, spontaneously comes love. Oneness leads to love. A mother loves the child. Why? Because she feels the child is mine. So there is oneness, isn't it? Oneness means love. Wherever there is difference, there is fight. There is what you call all the other kamam, krodham, lobham, moham. All these are born out of the vision of plurality, of difference. So Bhagavan says, Tektva, having given up all this vision born out of ignorance, pluralistic vision after giving up, understand that this consciousness you are and others are also this very same consciousness which is the essence. To give the example of the waves, as long as the wave is paying attention to the form, so this wave will consider other waves as different. But suppose this wave say, I am water. That very moment, the wave become one with the entire ocean. There is only love. So this is the best way of living life. A life based on love, based on harmony, based on peace. So this is one path. But suppose you ignore this knowledge, Bhagavan says, Atmajnana vihina mudha. So this is the definition of mudha. What is the definition? Atmajnana vihinaha. Those people who don't know this reality, according to spirituality, they are ignorant. They are foolish, dull-witted. They may have lot of degrees, worldly degrees they may have. But if this knowledge has not taken place, that I am consciousness with a body, where importance is given to consciousness. If this knowledge has not taken place, according to the spirituality, they are ignorant ones. Bhagavan says, Te pacyante naraka nigudha. remaining captives in hell, they are cooked. Pachyantam, they are cooked. Meaning what? What do you mean by narakam? Narakam is not just an external world, it is a state of your mind. Wherever there is vision of difference, there is fear, there is anger, there is jealousy, there is greed, isn't it? All this is born out of the vision of difference. So those people who don't know this reality, they will fight with each other. There cannot be any peace or harmony. Superiority complex, inferiority complex. Every stage that person suffers because of this wrong understanding. Considering oneself as the body, not as consciousness. Now what is the technical term for it? It is called ego. If you consider yourself as the body, then you are called an egoistic person. If your attachment to your body is intense, then you are highly egoistic person. Greater the ego, greater the suffering. Greater the ego, greater the suffering. That we had seen some few days back. Therefore, if you want peace, if you want happiness, what is the only solution? Bhaja Govindam. Now again, Bhagwan gives certain sadhanas. Now he is winding up the whole topic. So some of the portions he is just revising it. Why does he revise? It is out of love. It is out of compassion. Again and again you repeat sometimes certain instruction. Suppose your son or a daughter has come from US studying abroad. Then while leaving, you give certain instruction, isn't it? Along with some chutney pudi, etc. you give. Especially Indian mothers, they give. Suppose you are not able to cook there, you don't have time to prepare curry, then use this chutney pudi, isn't it? Prepare some rice and put this. Along with it, some instructions are also given. The moment you go back, call me, right? Eat only good food. Don't mingle with bad company. These are the certain instructions. Again at the railway station, just before leaving, the same instructions are repeated. It has already been told. But even then, you repeat. Why do you repeat? Because there is concern for the welfare of that people. So in the same way, here the spiritual masters, they also have tremendous amount of concern. Because very rarely a person turns to spirituality. Isn't it? Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschinmam veti tattvataha. Out of many thousands, rare few turn towards this path. So then the teachers become so happy. Yes, at least someone has come. So therefore he is very much concerned. Let not this fellow go back, slip down and fall. So he takes care. So therefore the instructions are repeated. Let us chant 27. Geyam Gita Nama Sahasram Dheyam Shripati Rupamajasram Neyam Sajjana Sange Chittam Deyam Dina Janaya Chavittam Sukhatah Kriyate Rama Bhogah Paschadhanta Sharire Rogah Yadyapi Loke Maranam Sharanam Tadapi Namunchati Papacharanam Arthamanartham Bhavaya Nityam Nasti Tata Sukhalesha Satyam Putradapi Dhana Bhajam Bhitihi Sarvatraisha Vihitaritihi Bhaja Govindam Bhaja Govindam Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate. Yes. So again the sadhana is indicated in verse number 27. Geyam Gita Nama Sahasram. Sing. What? Gita. Gita means Bhagavad Gita. Nama Sahasram. Which is that Nama Sahasram? Vishnu Sahasra Nama. Chant that. Meditate upon it. Dhyayam Shripati Rupamajasram. Meditate upon that form of the Lord, that Supreme Lord. Meditate upon Him. Neyam Sajjana Sange Chittam. Take your mind, carry yourself to where? Take your mind towards Sajjana Sangaha. May your mind be protected by good thoughts, noble thoughts, which are shared in satsang. Deyam Deena Janaya Chavittam. So whatever knowledge you gather, how should you express it in the world? As service, as charity. Whatever you have gained, give it to others. Deyam Deena Janaya Chavittam. Those who are poor, if you have money, give money. Some are poor in knowledge. So therefore, if you have knowledge, give knowledge. That is also great charity. So whatever you have, give it to others. That is the expression of love. So first, you yourself gather that wealth of knowledge. And once you have gathered it, how you should spend your time? In service of others. Deyam Deena Janaya Chavittam. In the next verse, Bhagwan again reiterates the very same concept which we had seen in verse number 3. What is that? The limitations of sensual pleasures. So verse number 28, Sukataha kriyate Rama bhogaha. In order to gain pleasure, a person indulges in sensual pleasures. But end result is what? Paschat, later, after having indulged. Hanta, alas, sharire rogaha. What is the end result of all indulgence? End result is only one: disease. Yadyapi loke maranam sharanam tadapina munchati papacharanam. How sad! The ultimate truth, as far as the body is concerned, is maranam. Ultimate refuge is death. But even then, in spite of knowing it very well, people are not abstaining from papam, committing sins. This is a great wonder, isn't it? Everyone knows that one day or the other I am going to die. But then nobody is serious about this. Everyone is busy committing sins. Alas. Artham anartham bhavaya nityam. Verse number 29. Always keep this in mind. What? Without right knowledge, money will bring only calamity. Artham equal to anartham. Wealth equal to calamity if you don't know how to handle it. If you don't have this right knowledge. Nasti tata sukha lesha satyam. If you really want happiness, wealth cannot give. It is only when you abide in your own self, only when you abide in your consciousness, you may get the real happiness. There is no happiness in wealth. Putradapi dhana bhajam bhitihi. Dhana bhaja, the rich man who has amassed wealth by all unlawful means, such a person is scared of even his own son. Father is scared of son. He has amassed wealth by wrong means. Naturally, he has passed on those wrong values to his son. Knowingly or unknowingly, now the son is waiting. When will my father die so that I can get all the wealth? Sarvatresha vihita riti. This is the truth everywhere at all times. Shankarāchārya has written this maybe 500,000 years back. Even today, it is true. That day also it was true. Doesn't mean that don't earn wealth. But only a person who has right knowledge about life, in his hands, the very same wealth become a good means to what you call serve the society. But those people who give highest priority to wealth alone and ignore God, this is what happens to them. The very same wealth which with great effort they had earned, the very same wealth becomes a curse in disguise. So this is again repeated. Actually this verse we had seen. Where did we see? Verse number 2. There also wealth was spoken of. So this is just a repetition. Now comes what is called as the Antaranga Sadhana. Antaranga Sadhana means what? There are two types of sadhanas. One is Bahiranga Sadhana, the other is Antaranga Sadhana. In verse number 27, Geyam Gita Nama Sahasram. Dheyam Shripati Rupamajasram. That verse pointed out Bahiranga Sadhana. Now the verse number 30 is going to indicate Antaranga Sadhana. Now what is the difference? Bahiranga Sadhana means the general discipline which one has to follow throughout the day. That is called Bahiranga Sadhana. General discipline. Speak truth, follow non-violence, etc. Antaranga Sadhana means that sadhana which you have to follow at the seat of meditation. The immediate preparation at the seat of meditation. So verse number 27 pointed out Bahiranga Sadhana, doing charity, etc. Now the verse number 30 is going to point out Antaranga Sadhana, meaning at the seat of meditation what are you supposed to do? All details are given by Bhagavan. Let us see what it is. Pranayamam pratyaharam nitya viveka vicharam japya sameta samadhi vidhanam kurvavadhanam mahadavadhanam Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam, Bhaja Mudhamati. Yes. Now this technique is very, very helpful for the beginners. First one, Bhagavan says, start with pranayam at the seat of meditation. So it is assumed that you are seated comfortably with your body straight. There is no disturbance from the outer world. Desha, Kala, Asana, Sharira Sthiti, etc. has been taken care. Place, time, etc. Now what are you supposed to do in the beginning? In the beginning you will find the mind wandering. In the beginning, when you sit for meditation. So what is the best way of handling the mind? Don't directly get into subtle meditation. Start with grosser technique. And the grossest one, without disturbing the body, is pranayama. What is pranayama? In this context, regulating the breath or breathing very slowly and paying attention to breath. This is called pranayama. Breathe slow, breathe deep, at the same time pay attention to the breath. It is a gross thing because here mind is not much involved. You are paying attention to some physical happening. Paying attention to a physical happening is easier than paying attention to mind. So this is a gross technique. Now, Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi in Upadesha Saram says, what does he say? Vayurodhanat liyate manah jalapakshivat rodha sadhanam. The moment you start observing your breath, the moment you start making your breath slow, mind also becomes slow. Because they are interconnected. When the mind becomes slow, quiet, prana, breathing, speed also becomes quiet. Vice versa also. When the breathing becomes quiet, mind also becomes quiet. So first you try this, quietening the mind by an external factor. Without the help of the mind, you are quietening the mind. A forced quietude. What you are supposed to do? Breathe slow, deep, and just watch the breath. 5-10 minutes you do it, you will find the mind has to a great extent stopped wandering. Like jala pakshivat, like a bird caught up in the net. So that net is the pranayama, bird is the mind. Bird cannot bird cannot fly. Though it wants to fly, but the net will not allow. Similarly, the slow breathing will not allow the mind to wander much. So to a great extent the mind becomes quiet. Then what are you supposed to do? Pratyaharam. Pratyahara means what? Withdrawing the mind from the world. Because this pranayama you cannot do continuously for 1 hour. And even if you do it, it is of no much use. Because unless you are culturally evolved, unless the mind is suffused with good values, no spiritual progress is possible. Any amount of pranayama will not take you anywhere. You will not evolve. You will remain there with a peaceful mind, a suspended mind. You will remain there. The moment you start your normal breathing, the mind also becomes agitated. So mind can be controlled only through training it with the right values. So now pratyaharam. Pratyaharam means withdrawing the mind. From what? From the world. How? Already the first 6 verses, what do they point out? The limitations of the world. So looking into the limitations of the world, anything that the world can offer, withdraw the mind. Educate the mind. Oh mind, there is no happiness there. Why are you going there? Oh mind, can't you see the limitations? Why are you going there? Withdraw. This is how you withdraw the mind. So we had seen the limitations. Worldly knowledge, worldly wealth, worldly pleasure, worldly existence, worldly love, worldly relationship. These are the first 6 verses. So using that, do pratyaharam, withdraw the mind. And then what? Just withdrawing the mind is only half task done. The main task is there. What is that? Not only that you have to withdraw the mind, you have to fix it upon the reality. So therefore, nitya anitya viveka vicharam. Understand what is nityam, eternal, anityam, ephemeral, impermanent. Do this vicharam. And then take the mind from anityam to nityam, to the eternal, which is the consciousness within. So by the time the mind is inspired to meditate upon the truth, to a great extent mind would have become quiet. Now here Bhagavan gives a technique to remain in that nitya vastu. How? Japya sameta. Do japa. There is a possibility that mind has left the anityam and it is holding on to nityam, but there is a possibility mind may go back. So in order to remind the mind again and again to remain in the nityam, take a pointer which reminds you of the nityam. And that pointer is, what is this? Japa yoga. Japa means chanting the name of the Lord. That name represents the nitya vastu. Start chanting. So in the beginning you can start loud, Uccha Japa. Then you can go to the higher one, Manda Japa. Uccha Japa means loud chanting. Manda Japa means mild chanting. Then Chittajam Japa, meaning chanting in the mind, then get into Dhyanam. These are the stages. Uttamastavad Ucchamandatah Chittajam Japa Dhyanam Uttamam Ajyadharaya Shrotasasamam Sarala Chintanam Viralataf Param. Ramana Maharshi. What does he say? Start from Uccha Japa, loud chanting, then go to the higher, Manda Japa, then Chittajam Japa, only mind is chanting, and slowly merge into silence. Now remember, this Japa is not a mechanical Japa now for this seeker. He has developed such a kind of relationship with the name of the Lord that the moment that name he utters, his heart is filled with devotion. Because for so many years he has been chanting that name and so many results he has seen by chanting. So he has found that all my problems have been solved by this chanting. So he has tremendous amount of faith, tremendous amount of love, tremendous amount of devotion. So now when he chants, his heart is filled with love, and then automatically he goes from Uccha Japa to Manda Japa, Manda Japa to Chitta Japa. It is not an effort. It happens, isn't it? When you are filled with emotion, can you speak? You are choked with emotion. Then the words won't utter. This is how you have to go from one stage to another. Not that 5 minutes I will do Uccha Japa, 5 minutes I will do Manda Japa. Not like that. It won't work. It has to just happen. That's what. If the mind is filled with devotion, it soars. It goes higher and higher. That's why the preparation is necessary. This is called Antaranga Sadhana. This Antaranga Sadhana will be effective only if Bahiranga Sadhana is performed perfectly. So Japya Sameta Samadhi. What happens with the Japa? With the name of the Lord, slowly you merge in silence. You merge in absolute silence, which is Samadhi. Mind becomes absolutely Sama. samadhi, absolute quietude, merge into the infinite silence. But now, though we have told it in 3 lines, Bhagavan says, Kuru avadhanam, mahat avadhanam. Do it with great care. Slowly, slowly you do. Because this doesn't happen that easily. Chanting is very easy. In 2 seconds you can do it. But this process to happen, it may take years of practice and births of practice. So therefore, go slow and steady. With great care you go. Slowly, 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 slowly. There is no hurry. Even if you hurry, you will only delay. Hasten slowly, Gurudev says. Only slowly you can hasten. If you show hurry-burry, then there is all the chance that you are falling down. Slowly you go, because it's a mountain. Uttishtata, jagrata, prapyavaran nibodhata, kshurasya dhara nishita duratyaya, durgam patastat kavayo vadanti. Kathopanishad. Uttishtata, get up, wake up, jagrata, be alert. Prapyavaran nibodhata, go to some wise person and learn this great truth. Practicing this, it is like Shurasya Dhara, walking over the edge of a razor. Walking the path of spirituality is like walking over the edge of a razor. Kshurasya Dhara Nishita, very sharp. Durgam Pataha, very difficult path it is. Kavayaha Vadanti, wise people say so. So therefore, step by step, slowly, slowly, slowly. As I had said earlier, how much patience do you need? Blade of grass, ocean. Remember that. But then the speed becomes very fast once the grace of God and grace of Guru descend. So now Bhagavan Shankarāchārya blesses all of us. Do we need that blessing or not? Yes. So let us chant that blessing verse. Guru Charanambuja Nirbhara Bhaktaha Samsārādaචirād Bhava Muktaha Sindriyamanasa Niyamadevam Drakshyasi Nija Hrudayastham Devam Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam, Bhaja Mudamate. Yes. Samsārād acirād bhava muktaha. O disciple, O my dear one, may you be free, muktaha. From what? Samsārād. From these worldly sufferings. May you be free. May you be free from birth and death. Acirād. Very quickly. But who is that disciple to whom he is addressing? Guru Charana Ambuja Nirbhara Bhaktaha. He alone can attain that state. The qualification. What is that? He is a bhakta, he is a devotee. Devotee of what? Guru Charana Ambuja, the lotus feet of his teacher. So there is devotion, there is faith, there is love, there is reverence towards the teacher, towards the scriptures, towards God. Such a person alone can cross over the samsara. May you attain that state. Sa indriya manasa niyamat, by controlling, by conquering indriya, senses, manasa, mind, etc. Drakshyasi nija hrudayastham devam. You will see, you will realize whom? Devam, that Supreme Lord. Who is? Where is He? Nija Hrudayastham. Who is there? Right in your heart. He is always available. May you realize that God who is seated in the heart, in your own heart. And thus, may you be free from all sufferings of the world. From this birth and death cycle, may you get liberated. This is the blessing verse of the teacher. Now the question is, do we deserve this blessing? Do we deserve this blessing? Yes. Why do we deserve? Because for the last 7 days the talks were going on and you found time to come and sit and listen, isn't it? Even though you were busy with so many things, but you found time. What does it show? It shows that you value this knowledge. If you don't value, you will not have time for that. The very fact that you have found time shows that you value this knowledge. And anyone who values anything, he will get that. That is a law of the universe. Whatever you value, you will get it. Because whatever you value, you will have time for it. And wherever you spend time, you will get that. Whatever it is. It can be wealth, it can be pleasure, it can be the world, anything. So for no doubt we deserve this blessing. Grace of the teacher, grace of Guru is always there. The question is, are we making use of that grace? Ramakrishna Paramahamsa used to say, the wind in the sea always blows, but the one who opens the sail, he alone can make use of that wind in the boat, isn't it? Those who don't open the sail, though the wind is always there, he is not able to make use of. The sunlight is always there. But are you opening your windows and doors? That will decide whether the sunlight will enter into your house or not. So here, Bhagavan Shankarāchārya blesses us all. So therefore, we must intensify our sadhana. That is the way in which we can invoke His grace and blessing. So this 1 week we had the excellent teaching of Bhagavan Shankarāchārya, our humble prostrations to that great teacher who has taught us so well with such simple examples, practical examples. May we sincerely follow his teachings and get liberated in this birth itself. Let us not postpone the entry into the kingdom of joy. Do you want to postpone it? There is nothing in the world worth postponing that joy. Isn't it? Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhave Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah Harihi Om